What is up, everybody? Hope you guys are doing well. Hope everyone is having a good time out there. It's, of course, your boy, Andrew Esquire, and we're here with an impromptu makeshift episode of The Legal Mindset. Today, we're going to be talking about the writer's strike, which is actually a topic that I kind of kept putting on the back burner because there's other just more relevant stuff, more pertinent stuff. This thing's going to be going on for a long time. This is one that I kind of said, you know what? I'll talk about this when I get time, and today is a good day because there's lots of news on it. And we're going to use it also as a catch-up day, some other fun news topics to talk about, and just to interact with you guys in the chat, whether it's over here on YouTube, on Rumble, or on Locals, because I've got all the degenerates connected on every single platform. So good to see all you guys today. We would be doing a Bangkok Bros today, but Ben, my partner for Bangkok Bros, is feeling sick. So because Ben is sick, your boy is always going to be streaming. I'm trying to do more now. I'm trying to come at you guys repeatedly. I was going to do a Locals last night, but Valiant Renegade wanted me to record with him. So blame Valiant Renegade for distracting me. It is all his fault, 100%. I love him, but it's Valiant. So anyways, I'll be trying to do one for you guys today. So I'll try to do a Locals today. Not right after this because I got to eat. I'm hungry, but I will try to get a Locals out within the next 12 hours, 24 hours, try to get a Locals for you guys. Did he get the coup from me? No, I don't think so. He's way sicker than I ever was. I had a cough, sore throat, something like that, but he's been like knocked out for several days. So he's got something fierce. But good to see all you guys in the chat. Let me say what's up to all the members. Grant Rasha, Danielle, Hunch the Dirty Roofer, who survived the hurricane, marked safe. Michael Pate, Danielle, Mike L, Not K, Sherry, Andrew F. Good to see you in the chat here today. And Rose D, Melissa Jennings, good to see you guys who are members. Whether you're a member because you purchased the membership or you were gifted it from someone else, I am very glad that you guys are here. Make sure you have turn on gift memberships accepted for those very generous gifts that may roll in. But today, let's start with a lighter note and, just a warm up here. So for those of my Floridians out there that were over there in Florida, now you guys know of course, my name is Andrew. That is my actual name. And I was there. I was alive for Hurricane Andrew. So growing up, I had a million Hurricane Andrew related jokes. People would make those jokes forever because I was there. I was alive during that. I lived through that. It's kind of my thing. But as a Floridian, I can say, look, we take hurricanes a little bit more liberally, right? So I've told this story during Hurricane Katrina when it hit Miami, right? It was only a Category 1, so it wasn't that serious. Although it did knock down a lot of trees. But I went to a hurricane party. I got pretty lit. I actually ended up driving home. I had to drive around a bunch of downed trees. And one time I got out to check a tree to make sure I could drive around it. And I noticed there was a downed power line sitting in a pool of water about, 10 meters in front of me. So I was like, well, that's a life experience. I survived there, just not stepping in a downed power line. But I've been in many hurricanes. I've survived them. Frankly, hurricanes are my favorite natural disaster, frankly, because I know how to deal with them. I know how to plan for them. They're very, very avoidable. If it is a Category 5, you literally know beforehand and can get on a plane and get the hell out, or get in a car and drive out. Although I prefer to get on a plane and fly somewhere to a faraway state. A lot of times what happens is people, for example, drive from Miami to Orlando, for example, and then the hurricane hits Orlando. So I actually don't recommend driving somewhere because you may end up having no power in a hotel room that's, away from your home. I would recommend flying out. That's my personal preference. But that being said, if you're going to leave, if you're going to stay, hey, just stay. # not legal advice. But yeah, I've seen a lot of hurricanes. But that being said, we've got a different attitude towards them. A lot of people, they piss themselves. Maybe it's your first time in Florida. Maybe you're a New Yorker. Maybe you're not used to it. But this video that I just saw really encapsulates exactly how I feel about hurricanes. So let me just throw this up here as a kind of warm up here. Some of you may have seen this, but this is perfection.
All right, Sarah. So we're going to step away from this the seriousness of this storm for just 1 second. You got to bear with me because this is something you don't see every day. Guys, what are you doing? Literally, this is a very new way to beat rush hour traffic on Bayshore Boulevard in Tampa. These guys are kayaking down this major thoroughfare, Tampa over my shoulder here. I mean, look at that. I don't want to minimize the serious nature of this storm, but this is what people are dealing with in Tampa as we speak.
So this is peak Florida, by the way. That is so peak Florida. I absolutely love every second of it. Just to say, these guys get it. These guys get the essence of the Florida man. When you see those guys, that guy may have been incredulous, but that is 100% the spirit of Florida man. People say that happened during Irma. Okay, even if it's old footage, doesn't matter. The point is, that's the spirit of Florida. Right, the spirit of Florida is going out there and row on your boat, your duck float. Also, the T-Rex. So there was the inflatable T-Rexes that actually started during a hurricane that hit Orlando, where there was an inflatable T-Rex that was twerking in a downed tree in a tree near my neighborhood, my old neighborhood in Lake Eola in Orlando, Florida. So the inflatable T-Rex actually came from Orlando, Florida, from that meme. It really originated from that. Mark of Reality said zones A, B, and C on the west coast of Florida were evaded. I love that video of the beanbag raft. Those are my people. Absolutely. Absolutely. Now, look, not to take away from the seriousness of the incident, but that being said, if it's a category 1 and category 2, we know how to deal with that. Florida's built to deal with that. We're going to be fine, right? And survive these incidents. So just shout out to those guys. Okay, someone, Nake said that. No, that wasn't what I meant. Sorry, Andrew was talking about the generator accident. Okay. Gotcha. So I think that was during this incident. That being said, a little lightheartedness to start out the day, a little Florida man action. Shout out to my other Florida men like Mr. Stephen Gosney. But also shout out to you guys on Rumble. So as I was leaving yesterday, I want to give credit out to Occupant 42. So I got a Rumble rant literally as I was shutting down the stream. So I did not get to see it, but it was a 50. So I want to read this for you guys for a second, which is from Occupant 42 for $50, who says, the state of current entertainment, we're watching legal and financial analysis instead of broadcast TV or a paid streaming service. And you know what's really sad, and we're going to talk about this today, is that us streamers, us people out here on YouTube and on other platforms, we are beating the crap out of mainstream media. And we're going to talk about how we are beating the crap out of folks like these jokers, these mainstream media jokers here, Jimmy Kimmel, we got John Oliver, Stephen Colbert. I mean, these guys, we're going to talk about these guys for in a second. So we'll get to them in 1 minute. But we are absolutely dominating these guys in terms of views, in terms of profitability, and look, in terms of what we do on our own. I don't have a team. I don't have $1 million budget. I don't make millions of dollars doing this. And yet my stream quality is better than Stephen Colbert and Jimmy Kimmel. I don't know what's going on here. And someone said in the chat, someone on a message board tried to convince me that Universal is doing the same thing with their special district as Disney. That is not true. I've covered the Universal district, so you should watch my video on the Universal district. That is totally different. It is going to be structured totally different, totally separate. So yeah, people who are saying that are mentally challenged and they don't understand how special districts work. So just throwing that out there. So anyways, that's just my lighthearted start to this day. People over here on Rumble said, I hope Ben feels better. Yeah, I hope Ben feels better too. I hope Ben feels better too. LFC Life says Tampa has gotten pretty lucky the last 2 hurricanes that hit the west coast of Florida. Yeah, Tampa's actually gotten spared with a lot of the major damage from hurricanes. They haven't had a super direct hit in a while. To be clear, Miami's kind of been fairly lucky as well. It's always a very high probability that a Category 5 hurricane hits Miami. There's actually a 33% chance that on any given year, Miami is hit by a Category 5 hurricane. So it's and that statistic may be varying, based on conditions and year, El Nino or not El Nino, but it's been very lucky. Miami's been very lucky. Renegade Shuriken says, legal mindset. Shout out to the return of Mr. Medicare tomorrow night at 7 p.m. CST. help him tard-proof his home for his cancer aids and buy a hat. I actually never interacted with Mr. Medicare. I don't know much about him, but hey, if you like him, you paid me for a shout out, I'll give a shout out, right? Shout out to Mr. Medicare, 7 p.m. EST, CST. Go ahead. Best advertising ever. Just throwing up a super chat because I will indeed read it. As long as it doesn't violate YouTube terms of service, I'm reading your super chat. So shout out to that. Appreciate you, Renegade. And then Mark of Reality said, evac, predictive text on YouTube keeps effing up my spelling. Yeah, and YouTube, will censor stuff, will change stuff. So you got to be careful there that you're saying what you want to say. All right, so let's get into this really cringeworthy Strike Force 5. Okay, so we're going to talk about the writer's strike today, and this is one of the cringiest of cringe things I've seen coming out of it. And I don't know if you guys have seen this. We're going to play the little intro clip here. But these guys, so all these hosts, which by the way are nothing without their writers. They are nothing without their writers. First of all, the writing sucks. But even without their writers, they literally can't do anything. So they decided, okay, we're just going to have a podcast and we're just going to kind of shoot the shit with each other and donate this money to the strikers, right? Because right now the actors are striking, the writers are striking, the showrunners are striking. Everybody's on strike over there in Hollywood. So these guys have decided to do a podcast. And let me just say, their quality and their presentation here is pretty god awful. And let's tune in here and I'll show you. This is posted on Jimmy Kimmel's X account, but let's show you how these guys are streaming. Look at, you got Stephen Colbert has a worse streaming setup than I do. Guy's got millions of dollars. Let's play this through.
One more time, Jimmy.
Yeah.
Hi, I'm Jimmy Fallon.
I'm Stephen Colbert.
I'm Jimmy Kimmel. I thought when you said Jimmy, you meant me, Jimmy, but you meant Jimmy.
I always mean you.
But when you say Seth Meyers, who do you mean?
I mean John Oliver.
It's the five of us together for maybe an hour a day.
Strike Force 5 is the name of our podcast. Subscribe to it now.
Spotify or wherever else you get your podcasts.
But Spotify, you fucks.
Okay, so these guys, I mean, their background, first of all, what the fuck is he in a rock climbing gym? What the fuck is going on behind him here? Is that his pegging stool? What is this? Who is this? And Stephen Colbert, once again, not a hot setup here, not a hot setup. These other guys too. It's a white background, and he's dwarf status for John Oliver. He can't even get his head kind of up there. Right, he's kind of down in a small chair. This is decent. This is decent setup. I think he's probably got the same mic that I do, right? Which is fine. He's probably got the Shure mic there. You can kind of see it right there when you pop it up. He's probably got the same mic I do, right? But that being said, horrible background, horrible decor. These guys are millions. These guys are millionaires. So, garbage stream. Garbage reaction. Nobody's really buying it, watching it. And this whole attempt to get attention, right? Which comes out to me as attention seeking, because these actors, they're all inherently attention seeking. It reminded me of something. And then I went back and I thought about it and I'm like, oh, I know what this reminded me of. This reminded me of during coronavirus when none of them were working. Remember when they all sang Imagine? Do you remember that, guys? Including, you've got Jimmy right here. Colbert did it as well. He's not shown here. But all these actors, they were missing people's attention. So they all got together and sang Imagine, right? It strikes me as the same sort of attention-seeking behavior. It's like a chihuahua that you're not paying attention to, so they poop on your rug, right? They're essentially the chihuahua that's pooping on the rug right now. And they're going to, I expect from these guys, as this strike plays out, as it goes longer, more of this attention-seeking behavior, more of this narcissistic behavior. So I'm here with my popcorn just to sit back and just munch and watch Hollywood burn. I think it is absolutely fantastic. I think it's absolutely great to see the desperation on their faces when they're not getting what they normally are given, not getting that constant gratification stream, right? And of course, by the way, I don't mean to insult the Chihuahua owners out there. I know Chihuahuas are better than Hollywood. I get it. But I have to use some sort of metaphor here, right? Some sort of metaphor. Let's see here. Contrarian 420 said all of these scumbags push the jab hard. Yes, that's exactly what they had in common. They had in common is they pushed the jab hard. They were absolutely pushing the jab as hard as they could. These guys were out here evangelizing for it. If you remember, there was the whole COVID jab dance that was going on in Hollywood. Hills Valerie says, that's my rug, man. Which rug? And does the carpet match the rug? Just saying. Okay, good to see everybody here checking in on Locals as well. By the way, Locals is phasing out their messaging feature. So for those that are on Locals or use Locals, feel free to just go ahead and write me on Discord. You have access on Discord, or just write me an email if you ever want to send me a direct message. I know they're phasing out that feature. All right, so let's get into some of the news articles that I want to get into today. Before I get into force majeure and what's going on with that in terms of an argument or in terms of Hollywood. So let's start with this. What's the reality today? So this is August 30th. This happened today. So the CEOs were set to meet with the unions today. They're set to meet amongst themselves. So the CEOs are meeting amongst themselves, right? So amongst growing speculation of internal divisions within C-suites, they're meant to gather today. So Disney's Dana Walden, Alan Bergman, Amazon Studios' Mike Hopkins, and Jennifer Salk, Netflix, Ted Sarandos, Universal's Donna Langley, and Warner Brothers' David Zaslav are scheduled to meet for a virtual sit-down later on Wednesday. Bob Iger will not be participating, reverting to his earlier stance of having Walden and Bergman be hands-on over labor actions. Part of that for Iger, we understand, was the overall CEO approach to keep some distance to be ready for the appropriate time to be directly engaged. I just think it's because Iger is a pussy, and because he took a lot of pushback. Iger took a lot of pushback for his comments at the meeting, the billionaire meetup in Idaho, when they were out there in the middle of nowhere, and he kind of talked down to the strikers. So I think he's trying to take a step back from that. I think that's the stance that he's trying to take there. But these guys are going to meet. But at the end of the day, the conclusion is going to be go pound sand. Right? The conclusion for these guys is not going to be let's bend the knee. It's going to be, hey, we're winning this one. We're saving money. We're able to cut content, which, by the way, was Bob Iger's goal. He had to cut $3 billion in content. These guys handed him a gift of a century, the ride of a lifetime, if you will, to cut content with fully, having a full excuse to do so without breaching contracts or anything else. He can just cut the content, stop paying people. And these guys are still able to, in many cases, if they're streaming services like Netflix, they can get content from abroad, which they're continuing to do. So I don't think these guys are bending the knee anytime soon. But on the other side of the equation, it's becoming much and much more difficult for the strikers. And this is one thing I was laughing over. So recently they were crying, and this is an NPR health news, which, by the way, means it's bullshit. Yeah, you heard me say that. NPR is bullshit. Saying Hollywood union and health insurance is good, and it's jeopardized by the strike. So these guys are literally finding out after they effed around. So these guys thought they could strike and just everything would be okay. They continue to get their benefits. They continue to get their cushy jobs. They continue to get their pay. Well, they're finding out, wait a second, we're going to lose our insurance because we're not working. Right? Yeah. You eventually get kicked off of it, right? Now, of course, a lot of these people are in California, and California has insurance for low income folks that they can get kicked onto, the PORS insurance. But that being said, they want their cushy Hollywood insurance because the premiums are much better, right? The premiums are much juicier, much nicer than the poor insurance in California. But I mean, look, these guys are out here writing bad shows or losing companies money, like Jimi Hendrix says, and they're striking and asking for more money. And then when they lose it, right, when they strike and they lose everything, lose the money and benefits, what did they expect from this? Did they think there's no consequences? Did they think they were going to keel? And I think woke Hollywood and the woke leftists in general, they do believe that people will just bend the knee because that's what people have been doing for the longest time. Conservatives, business have bent the knee to the left, and they've done it over and over and over again. And I think they thought in this case they were going to continue to do it, but they're running up against a wall because Hollywood is simply just not that profitable. Joseph, well, you won't measure that shot glass, coward, for $4.99, which is obviously Brandon Lesko, says, if Joe fails to properly measure the shot glass, do I have a legal pathway to strangling him? Asking him for a friend. I think that at this point, Brandon, I think you have what's called a very good case for unjust enrichment. Joe has been unjustly enriched by super chats, which were intended to pour for full shots. And indeed, he has been perhaps a little bit of a shorter on those shots. So you might want to hold him to task on that. Say, hey, Joe, listen, you gotta mensch up, man. You gotta mensch up. You gotta be that mensch on the bench, and you gotta do that Manischewitz shot. Just saying. Not legal advice, but also legal advice. Wildo T. Baggins says, keep my state out your mouth, Idaho. I hate how Holly Weirds come here. Kimmel owns the fishing lodge 30 minutes away from me. But here's the problem, guys. How do you keep these guys out of your jurisdictions? How do you keep these guys out of your states? How do you keep these guys out of great states like Idaho, Montana, South Dakota, North Dakota? These creepy weirdos end up in these places, and it's hard to get rid of them. They ruin the state. Oh, man. So it's hard to keep these people out. I'll say that. You just gotta, and my only hope is kind of like the Florida hope, which is I hope people get scared of a state and like the leftists start spreading bad news about states. That's actually good. I don't want the weird leftists to come to Florida. I want Florida to stay Florida. I want Florida to stay based. I'm happy if they stop coming. I am happy if the weirdos leave. I am happy if they believe the hype in that it's a scary, dangerous place. That is amazing. That is perfect. Go away. We don't want you, right? Hillis Mallory says, filmed in Georgia. Very true. There are a lot of things being filmed in Georgia, but Georgia is, of course, also going woke, right? Georgia, especially Atlanta, is becoming more and more and more blue. If you guys haven't been to Atlanta lately, definitely a lot of questionable things going down in the ATL. Hunch says a 6x6 hole in the middle of nowhere and a shovel. That's how you keep them out? Okay, well, I assume you're talking about Minecraft. Which is, of course, a game that you could distract them with. Obviously. Very good game to distract them with. Let's see. Over here on Rumble, Aaron says, I'm 100% for the Writers Guild. The longer they strike, the more time we have without trash TVs or movies. Yes. And if anybody has watched Ahsoka, I think that, and I've only seen clips, but every single clip I've seen of that is trash. None of the things they brought out, even the supposed best things they brought out, are good. They're all absolute garbage, and they're all a travesty, a joke, a perverse homunculus of what used to be good TV and good movies. So that's why people are out here tuning into YouTube. That's why they're watching just whatever they're going to watch, streaming old stuff, watching old movies, watching anime, rather than going and getting engaged with Hollywood and their weird modern SJW BS. All right, so let's get on the next article I want to read, which is Hollywood. So these Hollywood strikes, what their cost is. And I know Valiant, Renegade, and Mexican Iron Man are somewhere salivating whenever numbers come out. But saying the Hollywood strikes could cost the U.S. economy $5 billion plus amid lost wages, film delays. I think this is very misleading. This is all isolated to Hollywood in the Hollywood industry. It's not going to cost anything, by the way. That money will be spent elsewhere. So the money that would go into this sector is going elsewhere. To pretend that this money is not being spent, that people aren't going out there and buying things for entertainment, doing things for entertainment, is BS. Maybe people are going out and spending money to travel, right? Maybe people are going out there and spending money on video games, right? Or spending money on anime, whatever else, right? They're not spending money on your streaming service, right? Your woke streaming service or your movies or whatever else. So I think this is very misleading. But they say, hey, this is going to cost up to $5 billion in the quote unquote economy, right? But what's more interesting about this article is the projected length. And this is kind of what I wanted to focus on here for a second, is that the writer strikes in the past, when you look at historic writer strikes, right? So you've seen ones 100 days, 153 days, 14 days, 90, 105, 146. So we could be in for a very long writer strike. We could be in for a writer strike that breaks all of these records, right? That goes on for maybe even, 3/4 of a year or an entire year, right? Which would be fantastic. I think the conditions are different this time. And I think what they're asking for is categorically different than times in the past. So I think all of these records have a chance of being broken. The 88 record of 153 days, that has a chance to be broken, clearly, which is great. I think everybody should be happy for that. Absolutely. And by the way, if you look at where the losses are, right, and the production losses, look what they've confirmed. And this is what the best part is. Who is this hurting? Okay. Hollywood has been very concentrated in terms of production activity. So anyone who does film or TV, Disney, Warner Brothers, Universal, and people say even at this point, Netflix, Amazon, and Apple. I'm okay with all of that. Fuck all of those people, right? I do not care about any of them. Now listen, I like the Universal theme parks, but in terms of the movies, whatever, they can wait, right? Nothing that's becoming out right now has been fantastic. I have not been blown away by a movie in a while, although somebody in the chat mentioned this, but I did see Cocaine Bear, and I thought Cocaine Bear was a good movie and a good send-off for Ray Liotta. I did actually enjoy Cocaine Bear, right? So that one I thought was pretty decent, right? Cocaine Bear was just a funny movie. But other than like the very rare exceptions, you'll find one movie you like, right? One movie you like, but then all the rest of them are just going to be hot garbage, right? It's like one movie, maybe a quarter, right? Somebody said Logan, right? Logan was all right. Okay, cool. You'll find one movie you're like, it's all right. It's pretty good. Maybe it's really good even. Right. I'm looking forward to Dune. When it got pushed back, I'm looking forward to it. I like Dune. I like reading the books. So, for me, that's something I nerd out on. That's my one movie I'm probably going to enjoy in 2024. Right. Market Reality said Florida keeps them out with criminal justice and no benefits. Exactly. And I love that Florida does that. They say, hey, look, we're going to enforce our laws. We're a rule of law state. We're a rule of law state. So this is something we're not going to take, right? We're not going to deal with. So that's very, very, very much something that I think keeps people out because they know, look, Antifa can't show up and do what they did in Kenosha in Florida. They tried to get away with that. And I actually covered again the new lawsuit against Kyle Rittenhouse by the state of Joseph Rosenbaum, as well as they're suing Kenosha County in general. That sort of shit only flies in liberal jurisdictions where they say, oh, yeah, no, you're allowed to come here. We're going to release you when you get arrested for protesting. We're just going to let you out of jail. That only flies when you don't respect law and order. When you say, hey, we're going to arrest you for rioting, yeah, that keeps people out. And also keeping the benefits out. So saying we're not going to give illegal immigrants college tuition. Maybe that's a good thing. Hillis Mallory says, I actually liked Blue Beetle. Hey, listen, you have every right to like whatever you want to like. And if you like something, even if I have an opinion on it, that's fine. Whatever, you can like it. But I'm telling it straight. I perceive most stuff as garbage, right? So that's my personal opinion. Elizabeth Young says she also enjoyed Cocaine Bear. Yeah, no, I thought it was a good movie, right? But if you liked Blue Beetle, hey, man, that's fine. I heard bad reviews about it. I don't plan on seeing it, but if you like it, go get it, right? Cocaine Bear, you can get crack in Thailand. Come on, Andrew, it's terrible. No crack. I don't get crack in Thailand. There's no need for that. There's no need for that. There's plenty of legal substances here. But that being said, yeah, I did like Cocaine Bear. It was good. Meth. The next one they got to do is like Meth Shark. If they make a Meth Shark or a Meth Gator, make the Meth Gator movie, that would be very much the Florida Man. That'd be much more Florida Man. Good point by Hypnotic in Rapture. He says books will always be better than woke trash movies. I agree. I listen to a lot of audiobooks. I listen to a lot of audiobooks. Aaron says on Rumble, don't loot or you'll get shot. I guess that was DeSantis, what DeSantis said. Yeah, pretty much stand for that. This is why I think DeSantis is a great governor. And frankly, I hope DeSantis focuses on governing because this is what he does well. He does well responding to hurricanes. He does well responding to looters. He should really focus on that right now and then come back a little bit later to the presidential stuff. But that's my 2.5 cents. Really like his response to the hurricane. Okay. So I want to get into this argument here. So this is an argument that came up during COVID and is regarding force majeure, right? Now, many of you may not know what this is. And I'm going to go through kind of the law. I've also got a good article here that was from the COVID era. But during the COVID era, what happened was this, was that a lot of people couldn't perform their contracts. So because things were locked down or closed, they were not allowed to do what they said they were going to do. So let's say you ran a bar and you had a contract with the beer distributor to bring you a keg of Bud Light every week. Well, you can't actually open your bar. So you had to say, hey, force majeure, we're locked down. I've got to cancel my Bud Light order. Then, of course, Dylan Mulvaney crops up and you're like, you know what? I'm never renewing this order ever again. Right? So that's something that happened during Corona. Many different people got out of their contracts. In fact, many people got out of their rent contracts. And I'll go out here and say, your boy here, Andrew, ended his lease early because of coronavirus. I said, hey, look, force majeure. I want to leave early. You're trying to increase the rent because everyone's trying to move to Florida. So screw you. I'm going to get out here early. I'm going to get out here, a month or two early, and use the force majeure. And they couldn't question it. They had no ability to question it because of COVID. So that's what's going on. That's what's going on there. Floral from Under a Rock says, is this a premiere? Yes, it's a premiere, Floral. So that's how I'm able to respond to your member chat actively in real time because it's a premiere. That gives me the ability to do that because magically they've invented that ability. Thank you, though, Floral. Appreciate Floral. Floral, great show, guys. Check them out. These naughty puppets that are going on regularly. These guys are insanely talented puppeteers, so you guys should check out their content. It's absolutely fucking hilarious. I like those guys, and I love hanging out with them. Really cool dudes. So, and dudes and ladies, because there's female puppets too. And there's, I guess there's non-binary puppets. So, there's all sorts of puppetry going on. But anyways, force majeure. People going crazy with the Are We Live in the chat now. I see you guys. Okay. So now you get what force majeure is. Force majeure is supposed to be for war, for disease, for major events, right? So the argument was, does COVID meet force majeure? And most lawyers said yes. In fact, this article here I'm getting is from the COVID time. And this lawyer from Hogan Lovells, he said, hey, look, it meets the test for force majeure, right? So, and it's historically been used for like floods, earthquakes, terrorist attacks, market shifts, but COVID can apply. But let's look at this standard because it talks about California law, which would apply in this case, right? Because we have to apply California law to the strike. And we'll get into the analysis here. So force majeure is a contractual clause that excuses a party's performance under a contract when circumstances arise beyond that party's control, making performance inadvisable, commercially impracticable, illegal, or impossible. Force majeure has historically been equated with acts of God, such as natural disasters, earthquakes, floods, but it also expanded to include man-made events, such as strikes, market shifts, terrorist attacks, computer hacking, and government actions. So boom, there we go. It acknowledged already that strikes have been sufficient historically to trigger force majeure. Why is this important? Well, if they can trigger their force majeure clauses for these writers, directors, showrunners, they can fire them all permanently. right? Which is fantastic for the studios because they can cut down on the amount they pay these guys. In California, the primary test for force majeure is determining whether the particular event could not have been prevented by the exercise of prudence, diligence, or care. So there's three factors. So oftentimes with law, there's three factors. Number one, right, whether the event qualifies as force majeure under the contractual language. Oftentimes, it specifically says whether something is force majeure. But if it's ambiguous, then you have to go on to number two, which is whether the risk of non-performance was foreseeable and able to be mitigated. So, was it foreseeable that there could be a strike? Well, yes, there's unions, so it's foreseeable there could be a strike. But is it foreseeable there could be a strike that goes on for historically long periods of time, that goes on for half a year? No, that's something that goes beyond foreseeability and goes beyond your ability to mitigate. If you say, hey, we're willing to come to the table, and they say we're not willing to negotiate, they're acting like terrorists. They're acting like Osama bin Laden with Hollywood. Well, that's not able to be mitigated. You can't fix that because they won't negotiate. So because of that, it would meet number two, and you move on to number three. Is there a causation between the force majeure and the non-performance? So in not performing the contract. So if the contracts they're trying to terminate are these people's pay, well, yeah, obviously there is a causal, i.e. a logical link between not working and not being paid, right? So if you're not working, logically, you're not going to be paid. Now, I know the leftist weirdos think they can just live in this commie utopia where they don't work and they strike all day and they're paid, but that's not the reality. That's not how reality works. You have to provide value to get value. America still works that way, even in crazy states like California, which are so open to strikes and so open to union organization. And the last was whether performance is truly impossible. So yes, if they cannot do their job, that is an impossibility. They're not able to do their job because the union says you cannot do your job. So indeed, performance is impossible. So all the factors of force majeure are met here. What does this mean? They can fire them all. They can fire them all. So I am of the opinion that especially now, especially if this has gone on for a long time, we're getting to the point where they can fire all these workers. They can clean house, they can move. And this is going to be an absolute L for those workers, an absolute L for those union members. And frankly, on the other end, if Hollywood, if Hollywood wanted to bend the knee, I don't think they could financially. I think if you look at Disney and the financial scope that Disney is under, I don't think Disney can pay out. I don't think they have the money to pay the workers what they're even asking for. So I just don't think that the money is there. Even if they wanted to do it, it doesn't make financial sense to do it, period. Rio says, arguably in a communist utopia, no strikes happen because those who can work choose not to are but parasites upon the workers. That's arguable. I mean, I think there tend to be a lot of parasites in those atmospheres. What is a trigger date? Well, I don't think there's a specific trigger date. It's more of at this point when they choose to invalidate that and notify them that they invalidate them, I think that they can do that justifiably under the law. I think their lawyers haven't chose to do that yet. And no, I haven't missed any super chats. I got you here, Contrarian, which says, Andrew, write this down. Blood Meridian, Audible. Get it. Get it. Best audiobook, best American novel. Write it down. Get it. Okay. I'm going to put it into I'll put it into my Amazon list. So my Audible list. So I will get that out there. I think I've heard about that one. That's the one where about the bounty hunters. Yes. So that's actually a good one. Thank you. That's not the first time I've heard that recommendation, but appreciate it. Hillis Mallory says, Disney just fired the writers for the Avengers. Good. They sucked. They were horrible. Right? They're horrible. Nero says, no, in actual communism, if you don't work, you either get the gulag or the wall. You don't get a choice with. Yeah, no, look, what I mean is, look, there's the nomenclatura class. There's like the upper class. those guys sit on their ass, right? Those guys don't do shit, right? The leaders, right? The people at the top, they don't do shit, right? Effectively don't do shit. Maybe they show up to the party meetings, whatever, but they effectively don't do crap, right? Then you've got the workers. If the workers don't do crap, they go to the gulag or the wall, right? So that's what I want to get to here. Another thing I want to point out here. So the next thing I want to point out here was that general counsel thing. Now, this is something I've actually spoken to WW Pro on, a couple others. So I wanted to comment on it real quick regarding the general counsel. So it appears that they're still looking for general counsel. And this is actually the Writers Guild of America West. You see they're opening for general counsel, right? So they have still posted a general counsel position with a salary range of $250,000 to $325,000, which, by the way, that's like $50,000 anywhere that's not LA. But they're still trying to hire a lawyer. I mean, I'm not making this crap up. Let me zoom in here and see, right? This is the Writer Guild of America West, General Counsel, Los Angeles, California. So these guys are going into strikes, right, without in-house general counsel. Now, I've been told, and there's been comments that they have outside counsel that's serving as their general counsel. That's not normal for most organizations. Most organizations have internal general counsel because of the conflict of duties. If you have a general counsel who is not just representing you, then they may have a conflict with somebody else. They may have to hold back because of somebody else. I don't like that. I like you having a general counsel that's your general counsel, right? You should always try to engage a lawyer that really just works for you in that industry and just you. I think that's much better than whoring yourself out to somebody that may work for 6 or 7 other people and have really other conflicts, other things that are going on that maybe they don't fully disclose to you. Maybe they partially disclose, but not fully. They're not being honest with you. So they still don't have that, which is one of the things I think that is detrimental for them, because I don't think they understand things like these force majeure clauses, which could end up hurting them in the end. Some people say I'm buffering. Am I all right? Okay. M's in the chat if mindset's coming through all right. B's in the chat if it was buffering. I want to see M in the chat if it was all right. B's if it was buffering. Meanwhile, I will read. Oh, I think I got that super chat. So thank you very much for that. All good over here on Rumble and also on Locals. Yeah, good to see you guys over there on that as well. Okay, M's in the chat. We're good. M is for muted. I like that. People trolling me already. No, great stuff. Great stuff. The other thing I want to get to, which I think is very interesting, is so the SAG-AFTRA, they have a notice of what is not struck. So things that are going on during the strike, which I think is very interesting, because if you look at some of these line items, there's some items here that are kind of interesting that are not struck and still open. Now, notoriously, SAG-AFTRA, this does not cover anything that is non-union. It doesn't cover influencers that are non-union. It doesn't cover anything that's being done outside of the United States. But one of the things I found that's very interesting here is you have several agreements, for example, for station contracts, broadcast news contracts. That's still on there. You have sound recordings that are still on there, audio recordings that are still on there, some live entertainment agreements that are still on there, public television, and also interactive media agreements for video games and dubbing, right? Including dubbing for Netflix. So Netflix is still allowed to go out here and dub. And so what does this do? In a huge way, this incentivizes Netflix to go out here and get more anime, to come out here to Korea and get more K-dramas, more stuff from Korea, stuff from Japan, even stuff over here from Thailand. Go to Bollywood and get more stuff and dub it into English, because that's specifically exempted and they acknowledge that. They put that out there. Also, podcast agreements, right? Audiobook contracts, all exempted from any work here. So I think that anime has and foreign works have such an opportunity here. And what we're going to see is we're going to see Hollywood increasingly becoming irrelevant as compared to foreign properties. So I think foreign properties are going to be on the rise. I know I seem like, hey, Andrew's in Asia. He's just shilling for Asia. No, but It's right there in black and white that they can dub freely as they want. That's totally not covered by this at all whatsoever. So they can bring in stuff and dub to their heart's content. It's going to be absolutely hilarious as that surges up, because it's legally not covered by their union agreements. These union agreements cannot cover people over here in the land of chopsticks, right? In the land of fried rice. We are absolutely immune to that. And I do love you guys long time. Otto says SAG wants YouTubers. I think they actually, at one point, they were asking TikTokers and YouTubers and influencers to voluntarily go on strike. But when that failed, they actually came out and put out an FAQ. And in that FAQ, they specifically said that influencers are not covered. So they said that influencers are not covered. They had to clarify, saying, no, we're not trying to force you, because it was perceived that they were trying to exert their authority over people that they have no authority over at all whatsoever. So that was a big little mess up on their part. People say anime has some issues. Some translators have localized it. Well, that's an issue with the localizers. And frankly, that's where fan dubs and fan subs come into place, right? People are going to be out there fan subbing and fan dubbing. And frankly, I support you, fan subbers. I support you. Strongly support you. And good morning to all those checking in right now. So that's what I have on the writer's strike. I want to know what you guys think about it. Actually, let me put in the chat a little poll here to see what you guys are going to say. Like, who do you think will prevail? Do you think it's going to be the writers or the strikers, Hollywood companies, or do you think both will fail? I want you guys to think who's going to win this in the long run. Who's going to take the dub in the long run? Let's see over here. I think I'm caught up here. Aaron says the best anime can be found in the Pirates of the Caribbean, in the islands of the Caribbean. Very interesting. Perhaps sailing the high seas. Aaron says Tom Cruise is dubbing Bollywood videos. Let's go. That would be hilarious. I would laugh my ass off to see these guys dubbing Hollywood videos. Get some Bollywood remakes. It'd be fantastic. Having carve-outs like that, Bob says on Local, says having carve-outs like that makes sense. That would be separate contracts like we have for those in the maintenance contracts. Yep, that's exactly what it's like when you have different sort of industries. You usually have carve-outs for those industries because they don't want to be included in those other contracts. People say, I'm here to roast marshmallows on the Hollywood bonfire. Me too. And you guys think in the poll, 72% of you think both Hollywood companies and strikers will fail. 22% of you think the companies will win, and only 6% of you think the strikers will win. Well, 6% of you are wrong, and then there's the rest of you. I do not think the strikers come out with the W here. No offense, because it's been too long. They were going to get the W and the knee was going to be bent. It would have happened earlier. The longer this goes on, the worse this looks for the strikers. Now, let's go on to a little lighthearted news. I wanted to kind of wrap the show or like move the show into the back end by talking about a little bit of more lighthearted news. And I had some good news for you guys. I don't know if you heard the story about the kid who wore the Gadsden flag patch to school, right? So if those who don't know, this is the Gadsden flag. This is the Gadsden patch right here, the Gadsden flag, the Don't Tread on Me sign. So if you didn't see the video, you can go out there and find it. There's a viral video where a teacher is telling this poor kid that his backpack and that patch that represents slavery and it represents slave owners, right? And that what he did was supporting slavery, right? And therefore it's not allowed because you might hurt the fifis. There's some good news. There's like a white pill here that I want to share with you guys. And this is kind of fantastic. So I want to talk about it for a second because I really support free speech, and particularly free speech in all venues, including in schools, even though they've been taken over by leftist teachers. I want to show this video. This is his update for him from today. So let's play this video from this kid from today.
Hey guys, today was a good day, kind of. When I got to school, the kids were really hyped up because they saw me on Twitter, and kids are putting "Don't Tread on Me" on their locker. Well, at least my new made friends, because I'm big on Twitter, and now they like me all of a sudden.
Which, by the way, it's funny how that happens. When you're famous on the internet and they like you all of a sudden, you're like, all right, they're your new friends, but these guys are also like, be careful. Be careful of the clout goblins, kid. You got to learn. But, it's hilarious that the kids are posting, don't tread on me on their lockers. Because here's the thing. When kids find a way to say F you to their teachers, they're going to do it. When kids do it, here's the whole thing about the T movement and why I think it may fail is because the teachers are pushing it. It's not cool when the teacher pushes it. It's never been cool when the teacher is trying to force you to do something. So the one hope I have is that the kids will just instinctively rebel against the bullshit of their woke teachers, right? And they'll push back against that. That I think is a good thing, and that I think is absolutely fantastic. So let's continue with this because it does end with some other information.
But the teachers, on the other hand, I got some dirty looks, that's for sure. They're definitely not happy with me. But other than that, it was pretty good. I was on the Charlie Kirk show, and Ben Shapiro had me. It was a really good day, in my opinion. Well, have a good day, y'all.
Yeah, so the guy's got so based as hell with the tri-corner hat there, rocking the tri-corner hat. I think it's fantastic. And I love it that the teachers are salty. Nothing makes me happier than a bunch of woke teachers that get salty over a based Chad of a student. And people are saying on Rumble, LFC Live says, Andrew, speaking from experience, yes, I was a horrible student. And my mother can confirm this. I was a horrible student. I pretty much would say F you to my teachers and authority at any chance I got. I would absolutely bend all of the rules to the point in which it was near criminal. It was fantastic. It was a good time. And once again, it was just because I didn't want to do what they said. It was just because I didn't want to do what they said. If a teacher had told me back then you need to wear a dress, I would absolutely have protested that. 100%, just to piss them off. So that's just my experience, my being in school. So anyways, big ups to the kid, big ups to this guy. I'm glad all is well that ends well. And I'm glad this had a good ending where this was clarified, that this was indeed, the governor came out and said the Gadsden flag is indeed central to our nation. It's part of the battle standard for some of our armed forces. They have the Gadsden flag. This is integral to many parts of our society, our American society. This absolutely has nothing to do with slavery. That's ridiculous. And that argument is preposterous. Grant says, legal mindset. The staff member commented about the flag patch, but he had other patches that had pictures of guns on them, which violates their anti-violence policy. The thing is that there's a certain, once again, there's free speech and ability to have free speech. But at the same time, if you look at what the teachers have, what the things they put up, so they're allowed to put up the trans flags, BLM, everything else. Mind you, many organizations which actively advocate Antifa, actively advocate for violence, that's viewpoint discrimination. Either you have no flags or political viewpoints up, or you have all. You don't get to pick and choose. You don't get to pick and choose one over the other. That's viewpoint discrimination. Either everything is okay or you keep it neutral, right? You don't get to choose one or the other. Weeby says, been watching your videos for a time, but first time I catch you live. Welcome live. Glad you caught it right here, even though it's at the end, saying PS force majeure covers acts of God, meaning things beyond one's ability to foresee or prevent. Yes, but the legal interpretation of that has been interpreted beyond acts of God. So it doesn't have to be a natural act. It can now be man-made acts, like strikes have been found in the past to be part of it. And indeed, I think this one can be found to be part of it. So that's what I got for today, guys. May do a locals a little bit later, later in my time. So that'll be tomorrow morning for you guys in the Eastern Coast. Or within the next 24 hours, I'll do make sure I have a locals exclusive. So stay tuned for that. Notice will be on my legalmindset.locals.com. Thank you for checking in, whether it's on Rumble, locals, or anywhere else. And I will catch you all later. Stay based.